Hey guys, welcome back to another monthly read and wrap up. For July, I read 16 books. Technically 15, but Goodreads counted my reread twice, so it counts. Like, I read a book that I loved, like, went to read another book, and I was like, yeah, okay. Then I read the last book, the one that I loved, again, so Goodreads counted it, so I'm counting it, so. The first book I read is called Brutal Obsession, and it's a dark hockey romance. Dark bully hockey romance, I should say. And it's absolutely ridiculous and unhinged. Like, the guy, Grayson, he was driving drunk and he hits the girl's car. Her name is Violet. And then on top of doing that, backspace. He hits her car, which, like, ended her dance career, ballet career, something like that. And on top of doing that, he, like, the girl he was, like, in the car with, he was driving her, he puts her in the driver's seat and, like, tries to frame her and takes off. So then fast forward, Grayson and Violet are now going to the same college, and all of a sudden he wants revenge on her because his little framing thing didn't work. He ended up getting caught. So he wants revenge when it really should be the other way around. So I don't know, but the whole plot was crazy. I just wasn't really vibing with the book because it was so ridiculous. I disliked Grayson a lot. He was an asshole, and like the things he did to Violet, didn't like them. Disgusting. And then she let him off easy. Like, you could fight a little bit. Like, no self-respect. Didn't really like her. Didn't connect to her. Like, I thought she was weak. And on top of that, it was like 3 different plots going on. Like, she had a stalker and it wasn't Grayson. So it was just a lot. And then I didn't like her mom or his dad. They were like also involved with the drama. And it honestly was too long. And I really only stuck around to find out who the stalker was because I really thought it was Grayson the whole time, but it wasn't. So that was like an interesting turn. And let's see the rating. I gave this 2 stars. I would have gave it 3 if Grayson had been somewhat likable, but he really wasn't, unfortunately. So 2 stars. The next book I read is called Fourth Wing, and this book right here is the book I had to read twice because it's my favorite book of the month. It is my favorite book I read so far this year. Like, that's why I had to read it twice, because I had to make sure. I was like, is this the book? It is the book. This book is amazing. Like, no complaints about this book, honestly. Clearly, because I read it twice. Okay. And it's a fantasy romance and enemies to lovers. Like, and that surprised me because I was like, really? I'm into this fantasy book? But she's a fantasy girl now. I'm obsessed. Like, this book is perfection. 5 stars. I'm saying it right now. Like, it's about Violet, who is, she's in, like, a dragon rider school. Her mom forced her to be, like, a dragon rider. So she's in that training school. And so she's, like, dealing with a lot. Like, she's dealing with bonding with the dragons who can kill her. She's dealing with the other students who wants to kill her. And then she's dealing with Zayden, the main love interest, who also wants to kill her at first. So, but he doesn't, because enemies lovers. We love that. So, I love Violet. She's such a badass. Like, honestly, didn't think she was going to make it through, like, all the challenges, but she did. She kept coming out stronger, like, each challenge, and I love that for her. And then Zayden, he was just, he was everything. Like, my new book boyfriend right there. Like, there was so much tension between them two, and I'm like, ate it up. And then the smut scenes, like, okay, so they bond with dragons, and the dragons give them, like, powers. So, like, during one of the scenes, she, like, her powers, like, yielding lightning. So like while they were doing it, like she was making like it was crazy. I loved it. Loved it. Let's see. Love Violet, love Zayden. The dragons, I love the dragons. You could like hear Violet's dragons. You could like they were like talking to her, and I just love that. And I don't know. I just can't complain about this book. This book was amazing. And the ending, oh my gosh. Like, I can't wait for the second book. I think it comes out in November. October or November. Something like that. But you better believe I'm getting that book because I need it. The ending shook me, and this book was just 5 stars. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. My favorite book. Read this book. Like, it was just perfect. The next book I read is called Deviate King, and this is a dark high school bully romance. And honestly, this book was a hot mess, but I ate it up, so I guess I'm a hot mess too. Okay, so it's about Elsa, who transfers to this new school and is like instantly targeted by Aiden. So yeah, and then he gets like the rest of the school in on it. So she's bullied throughout her high school years until like and then things changed her senior year. She like starts, I guess you could say, like fighting back or something. She wasn't really winning the wars. I don't know, she wasn't winning, but she was like standing up for herself a little more. And that's how they like toxic love story began. So what else? I don't know. It's a lot going on. They called her Frozen because of her name. I didn't like that. I thought that was kind of corny. And then she didn't have her like full memory, so she didn't know a lot, and that like plays a part as to like why Aiden was like targeting her or something like that. My dislikes for this book was the whole Frozen thing. That was corny. When they first meet, like her first day of school, he like walked up to her and was like, "I will destroy you." Like, hello, nice to meet you. What? So that was that. And then also, I didn't like that it was a lot going on for like high school. It's like, are y'all really in high school? Y'all are doing a lot. But I don't know. Other than that, it was like an okay book. I like the cliffhanger. So it makes me want to read the second book, and I did. And then some of the smut scenes, I was like, okay, I'm vibing it. So I gave this book 3 stars. Okay, the next book I read is called Still Princess, and it's actually book 2 of that series. So it continues on with their toxic story. Aiden's still super crazy and possessive and an asshole, and then Elsa's still weak when it comes to him. But the plot is addicting, and you finally get answers from book 1, but then you're also still left confused. There's like even more questions that needs to be answered, and then there's like another cliffhanger at the end. So like I gotta read book 3 ASAP. But yeah, there's more twists and turns, and there's a new kid in this book, and it's just like a lot going on. And someone like pushed her in the pool, and she almost like drowned. So that was a lot, but like I said, it was addicting. So I don't know, I was just into it. And his father was like kind of like involved in something. I need to read book 3 to get like more answers on his father, but like as of right now, don't like him. He needs to go away. But I like, you can like sense that he's doing something shady, but you don't know what. So I don't know. 3 stars for that book. The next book I read is called Flawless, and I'm finally reading the first book of the series after reading the second book months ago, and honestly don't know why I did that, or like what was going in my mind when I said I'm gonna read the second book first. I don't know. But this is a cowboy romance and a small town romance. Rhett, he's a famous bull rider with bad PR, and then Summer is Rhett's agent's daughter who's been assigned to watch him. Watch, babysit, all that to make sure he's like good for the media. And so she's staying with him in his small town. And then that's how their love story starts. And I love this book. Like, even though I hated like the backstory with Summer's ex, and also didn't like the conflict that happened between Summer and Rhett, this still was like a really good book. Like, it was easy to read, and I did enjoy the storyline. And I love their chemistry, and I thought the ending was like really cute. Her sister was like mentioned, she was like in it, and I currently dislike the sister, and I know she's gonna get a book like later on in the series, so hopefully that book changes my mind. But currently, dislike her. But yeah, this was a good read, good solid read. 4 stars for this book, and in conclusion, cowboys are hot. I don't know. Like, I need to read more cowboy books. The next book I read is called Moments of Malevolence. Something like that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that word right, but I don't know. It is a dark romance, and yeah, that's all I think. Just like a dark romance, I guess you could say. So it's about Zuko, who is a hired killer, and then Alaska, who's a waitress. Zuko, he be calling like the sex hotline and talks to this girl named Sage. And Sage is also Alaska, so there's that storyline. So then you have Zuko, who comes into Alaska's bar, and she serves him, and she recognizes him, but he doesn't recognize her. So, but then they start that little romance, Zuko and Alaska, and then there's drama that's happening with another waitress at the bar. So there's that drama, there's the hotline drama, and yeah, all that. So I don't know. This was just like a quick read, and I don't know. It was good. I gave it 3 stars. I like the part where he called the hotline. He called Sage. He's like, I know it's you, Alaska. I know it's always been you. I screamed at that part because I was like, yes, I knew he knew it was her. Because, like, how can you not tell her voice if you're, like, so obsessed with her? But he knew, and I don't know, I liked it. It was a quick read, and it was different because I never read a book with the whole hotline sex worker plot thing going on. So that was different, and it was a good, solid, quick read. So 3 stars. The next book I read is called The Hunter, and don't judge me because this is a monster smut book. It was so weird. It's monster smut, it's a novella, and it's also like a Little Red Riding Hood retelling. And this is the second book of that monster series. I read the third book first, like a weirdo. Don't know why. And honestly laughed the whole time reading this book because it was just so unserious. So it's about some girl who she goes to a cabin for like a weekend trip to be by herself, and then she starts hearing noises, and it turns out to be the wolf, and he's there to collect his mate. It was crazy, and she got all horny for the wolf, and it was honestly so... It was a little disturbing, but it was funny, and I read the weirdest books. Like, I was trying to picture Klaus from the originals, but it wasn't working. It was so weird, and it was just straight up monster smut, so... like, 2.5 stars. It wasn't really for me, but if you like monster smut, or like smut more than plot, then you would enjoy this book. Okay, the next book I read is the first book of the monster series because I had to finish the series, and this one was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So again, it was It was a lot. It was monster smut. So you know the story of Beauty and the Beast. It was like, yeah, the Beast, he paid off her father's debt, and in return he gets Belle, and so she goes to live with him, and she gets horny for the Beast, and it's monster smut. It was some cute moments, like it was some cute quotes, like, let me find a cute quote actually, because I was like, oh, that's cute. I highlighted it. Let me go to my Goodreads and see my quotes. Let's see. Because I swear it was cute. Okay. She was like, you're not what I expected. And then the Beast was like, you're everything I envisioned. I was like, oh, that's cute. And then he also said, I will always protect you. You are my life. And without you, there's no me. Like, come on. That was cute. But even with the cute parts, it was like, it was still weird because he's a monster. It wasn't for me, but like I said with the last book, if you like monster smut and plot, no, if you like smut more than plot, then you will like this book. I gave this 2 stars. And throughout I read 3 books, and I like the second book better than the other 3, I guess. I don't know. But those books weren't for me, but I don't know. Some people like them. It was some good ratings on Goodreads. The next books I read, yeah, that sounds right. The next books I read is a series, the Dark Duet series. It's 3 books, and these books, it's a dark romance. All 3 books, it's like disturbingly dark, so trigger warning, like heavy trigger warnings. It was a lot, and this is probably the darkest read I ever read. The darkest read I ever read so far. Yeah. Like, honestly wanted to stop reading it, but I had to find out, like, what happened to the girl, what happens with the guy, can he redeem himself, will there be a like, are they together? It was just so disturbing. Okay, so first book, the guy, Caleb, he kidnaps the girl, and he's, like, intending to sell her into, yeah, he's trying to sell her. And then in that book, they're, like, he's, like, training her or whatever, and then they're also, like, falling in love at the same time. It's so disturbing. So many disturbing things went on in that book. And then the second book is like a continuation of the first book, like right off the bat. It's a continuation. He ends up letting her go, and she's in a not mental hospital, but like a psychiatric some hospital where she's like talking to a therapist, and the FBI is coming in to question her about like what happened. So yeah, like I said, he let her go, and he also killed some people who were like involved. So there's that, but she is free. What else? Yeah, she's free. He stayed away from her until he like figured things out, I guess, of his life, trying to get out of that dark world. And then he like ends up finding her in another country, and they start dating, I guess you could say. I don't know, really. It's like so hard to explain because it's like a lot more that happened than what I'm trying to say, but I don't really want to say too much because it was a lot to read, and I don't want to like really talk about it that much. But I don't know. they start dating, and the third book is it's in his point of view, and it's like him adjusting to his new life out of that dark world, and then him adjusting to their relationship, their new relationship dynamic, because they're together and they're like creating a new life together, stuff like that. Oh, and they also have new names. They changed their names. So it's that, and like I said, it is like, it's really dark. It was a lot. It was a lot to read, and it's even a lot to talk about, really. But I wouldn't say he's like redeemable, but the stuff that happened to the girl like also happened to him. Like, he was in that world as a victim, and then he became someone who hurts like other victims. So they're both like victims, and it was just disturbingly dark. That's like all I could really say about it. And honestly, didn't give this a rating yet, but I think I'm gonna go with 2 stars for like the whole series, and 2 stars means that it wasn't for me. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna go with. The next book I read is called The Fucking Wrong Number, and it's a dark hockey romance with an obsessive stalking hero, and this book was completely unhinged, but I swear I ate it up because it was so crazy. I had to keep reading. Like, it starts off with Lincoln, the guy, texting what's her name? I forgot her name, but texting a girl, and crap. Now I'm like trying to figure out her name. Like, it won't let me move on until I get her name. What's her name? I gotta find her name. I can't move on. Can't move on. Monroe is her name. And that's such a different name. I should have been able to like remember that. Okay, but anyway, Lincoln was texting Monroe thinking it was like someone else, and then they like realized he got the wrong number, but she sent him a picture of herself to like prove it was the wrong number, and then like from then on out he became like obsessed with her because she was so beautiful, and that turns into him stalking her, like finding out where she lives, and then they like meet, and then he like goes to her college, and he basically like bribed her into a date, basically saying, I'll pay like everyone in this room's tuition if she agrees to go out with me. And so the whole class was looking at her, so like of course she's gonna say yes. And then that's how their relationship began. And then he just gets like crazier. He gets her fired, and he gets her kicked out of her apartment so that she could be broke and then live with him, depending on him, stuff like that. And then she found out what he did, and she was like trying to leave, and he was like, haha, no. And he stuck her with something with a needle, and like she passed out, and then he ends up like chaining her to the bed, like trying to keep her. And then it's like, she was mad at first for like the first day, but then she was like, she realized she was into it because she was like already in love with him. And this book was so crazy and so unhinged, but I swear it was so funny. Like, I highlighted a lot of stuff because I was like, am I really reading something this crazy? Like, let me find the best highlights. Okay. One thing he said, he was like, sometimes I did miss the days when I was capable of rationality, but my sanity was a sacrifice that had to be made. Like, he knew he was crazy. And then he told her, he was like, you really think after going to all this effort to make you mine that I wouldn't be monitoring your phone too? That was when, because someone had sent her proof that he was the one who got her fired and kicked out. So that was a lot. And then he also was like, I'm sick, but she made me this way. Like, what other crazy things did he say? I do whatever it took to keep her, even if that meant locking her in this penthouse for weeks, months, years. I can make her love me again. I knew we would both bleed out before I let her go. Yeah, he was like, I drugged you to keep you with me, to keep you safe. Like, what? He honestly was so funny. And then she was like, how can you say that to me? What is wrong with you? And he's like, I stopped asking myself that, baby. Like, oh, okay. You know you're crazy, but... Oh, what other quote was this? He was like, I don't intend to spend a single night without you for the rest of my life, and if you go before me, I'll make sure I have a plan in place to go minutes later too. So I never have to. Like, I'm like, that was kind of a little more sweet than crazy, but still unhinged. And she was so into it. I highlighted a lot because it was so crazy. This book was crazy. 3 stars. 3 crazy unhinged stars. Maybe 3.5 because, I don't know. He was crazy, but he wanted to take care of her. So, maybe 3.5. Okay, the next book I read is called Because I Need You, and it's a mafia romance. It's about the girl who, I forgot her name too. I forgot his name too. Oh my gosh. The girl, she lost her father, and she like found out she's married because of the father, and so she didn't know, and neither did her husband. So it was like a secret marriage between them that they didn't know about because of their fathers, and both of their fathers was in the mafia. The husband's in the mafia, and so all of this is new to her. This whole mafia world, that's new. I like the secret marriage part. I thought that was like interesting because like, what? You're married, and I like the banter between them, and I don't know, they was cute. So they were dealing with their mafia drama and their marriage drama, and it was like all these people like trying to get stuff that her father left, and she honestly had no clue about it. But I don't know. This was like, it was a good solid read. I don't really remember much about this book, but like it was a good solid read. Those are like the only details I really remember. But I don't know. I gave it 3 stars. Okay, the next book I read is another mafia romance. It's called Dante. It's about Dante, clearly. He takes the girl, he kidnaps Kat because her brother owes him money. And then, so at first you think she's going to be all feisty and like fight back, but then like fight him all the time. But then she like gets weak for him and they start hooking up, but which is fine, but like, okay. And then she gets pregnant and then tries to run away, but then he catches her and locks her in a room, and then I don't know. Like, this book had so much potential, but it went downhill. Like, ugh. I can't really explain it. If you read it, you'll like get it. And so you have that, and honestly, that wasn't even really the problem. The problem was I didn't see the romance between them. I just saw like a bunch of hookups. And then she got pregnant, and then they got married because he didn't want to have like a baby out of wedlock. Like, his father was like, you either kill her or marry her because we don't do babies out of wedlock. Something like that. And so yeah, that's why they got married, and honestly didn't see the love between them, and I wish I did. But other than that, also his personality was like bad, and she was just really weak. Like when it came to him, I didn't like that. So I'm gonna give this 2 stars. So the next book I read is called A Soul to Keep. I read this on Kindle Unlimited, and you know how Kindle Unlimited like recommends you books. So because of those 2 weird smutty monster books I read, they recommended me this book, and it's a dark monster book romance. Like, it was weird because of the monster, but the plot was interesting. So it was an interesting read. Like, it wasn't just smutty monster. So yeah, interesting plot. It's about Rhea, something like that. She was sacrificed by her town to go with the Duskwalker. His name is like Orpheus, something like that. Orpheus, and I don't really know what he is. I guess he's like some magical multi-creature, like mix. Yes, some mixed breed creature. And so she was a sacrifice so that he could protect the town for like 10 years with his magic. And so Orpheus, he collects sacrifices, not to like kill them, but sometimes he does kill them when he's like in a rage. But he really just wants like a companion, someone to love him, which, because he's all lonely, which is, it's kind of sad. And I don't know. So he did try to eat her a few times when he was like mad, like in a rage, something like that. But he stopped himself, and he is surprisingly sweet. Like, he did like a lot of sweet things for her, like when he took her to his little demon world, I guess you could say. So like, he had this nice house. I don't know. There was like a garden that she was able to go to. She like wasn't. She was a captive, but like wasn't a captive. Like, she was only a captive in a sense. Like, if you leave his demon house, the other demons will attack you. Something like that. But this was a really long book, but I did enjoy it. Like I said, it was an interesting read. It was different for sure. Like, I never read anything like it. Wasn't into the whole monster smut scenes. But I did like the plot, and I like, there was this little thing about him. His like eyes change colors depending on the mood he was in. So like, his eyes were red when he was angry, and then his eyes surprisingly turned pink, and he didn't know why his eyes were pink. She didn't know why his eyes were pink, and then they realized it was because he loved her. I was like, aww. So that part was so cute, and I gave this 3 stars, which means my taste in books are kind of questionable, but I don't know. It was like a cute, like, monster read. Way better than just the smutty novellas, because this one had a plot, like a real plot that was interesting. So 3 stars. And that concludes the books I read in July. Can't wait to read a lot more books in August. I don't know if I could do 16 again, because honestly that was a lot. And if you don't read any of the books that I talked about, like, just read Fourth Wing, because that's the best book ever. Like, if you don't read anything else, read Fourth Wing. That's the book. But thank you so much for watching. Bye.